Hello, my name is Karly Noel Franz, and today is Wednesday, January 30th of 2019. This is part 2 of my testimony. Last year in August of 2018, my memories of severe trauma came back to me after almost 2 decades, actually a little over 2 decades of being dormant. And I'm going to talk about my memories that came back to me in chronological order. If you haven't seen my testimony video, I'm going to put a link below in the description so that you can watch that first, so that when you're watching this video, you won't be so lost. First of all, I want to thank the relative who met with me in person and let me know that my mother was on a work trip in June of 1994, 3 months after my 3rd birthday. Now, I originally thought I was between the ages around 2 to 3. I was in fact 4 years old. This occurred in 1994. And I'm going to start at the beginning. I originally thought that it was nighttime when I was abducted from the house that we were living at with these other relatives. It was in fact extremely early in the morning. It was still dark. That's why I thought it was nighttime. It was morning. After I was taken and abducted, we went to my great uncle's house. At the house, I remember being taken into the garage, but before being taken into the garage from the van, I remember my grandfather and his brother were arguing with each other in German. And my great uncle, the Master Mason, was wearing a Nazi officer's hat. I believe that my grandfather was vehemently against what was going on. And I believe that they were speaking in German so that I wouldn't know what they were saying. After my great uncle had his way with me in his car, there's noises. I don't know what's going on. I was taken back into the house. I remember there being the living room, the kitchen was kind of attached to the living room, and then there was a hallway that extended from the living room with bedrooms, in which, I remember seeing my grandmother in her underwear sitting on her bed. I heard other children being abused in the other rooms while I sat in the living room, and there was another girl there in the living room with me. She was naked and she did not speak English, and they also had pornography being played on their television. Me and this little girl, who I couldn't communicate with because she didn't understand me, we were given juice boxes and drugged, and then taken into a bedroom in the back. In this bedroom, there were small-sized brassieres and lingerie, like child-sized lingerie in this room, and I just remember getting sleepy and then blacking out. That's when I remember, the next memory I have is being taken to the Masonic Center, which I know exactly where it is. I've seen it on Google Maps. I found it. When we entered the Masonic building, and I was taken to the basement, because the top level floor of this place just looks very plain, like an event space. And I'm sure the Freemasons will give you a tour, no problem, of this space. I'm sure they'll be happy to give you a tour of their centers and lodges and temples, but they're not going to show you the behind-the-scenes locked doors. They're not going to show you the basements. Anyways, so went in through the front doors, went down a staircase. First thing that I saw was I was taken down a really long, plain hallway, and lining this hallway were cages. I want to say about half of the cages were empty and the other half had naked children in them. As I was taken and carried down these hallways, I could see the children just sitting with their knees up in their face, with their faces shielded. Some of them were just crying. Some of them may have been dead. I don't know. Or maybe they were drugged and sleeping. But I witnessed children being trafficked, and I don't believe that they maybe lived to see what I get to see. But anyways, there's that aspect there. It was then after going down this long hallway that we took a turn and went into the red carpet, gilded hallway where I saw one woman in a long black dress. Before going into the dining room with the long table and the double-headed eagle at the end of the table and the big, huge light fixture in the center of the room, I was taken into a small pink room. Like, all the walls were painted pink, and there was a pentagram, a black pentagram up on the wall. This room was full of women dressed in black, and they were rubbing me down, rubbing my arms, rubbing my legs, telling me that, oh, I'm so lucky, I'm a chosen one, and they were essentially doing what is called love bombing me, and basically, they were just putting me on some sort of maybe like emotional roller coaster to send me off into the dining room. Anyways, after they were like basically kind of like molesting me in a way, they were all dressed in black and they were all very like happy and smiling. That was when we were taken back out. I was taken back out into the hallway, and that's when, after that, we went into the dining room. People are telling me that they don't believe me, that I went through so much rape and abuse. I don't know why people think that the Freemasons have any sort of impressive anatomy, because a lot of them were very old. There was about 20 people left in line with their drawers down trying to touch themselves and gain an erection when they had to stop because I was bleeding. The person who raped me last probably had the largest anatomy of all of them. And it was at that point where the ritual took place. And then I was taken into a doctor's room. After being cleaned up, the doctor put something in my arm. It's a microchip, and I remember what it looks like. I remember the syringe and everything. It was a clear tube with a circular head, a wire attached to a microchip. It's in my left forearm. When they put this in, they put a Band-Aid on it. And it was then from that room where the doctor cleaned me up that I was then taken into the other room with the black and white floors. Yeah. So after I was taken from this like kind of surgical looking clean room, I was taken into the black and white kind of, I want to say it's like a torture room almost. When I first came into that room, they placed a baby in front of me wearing a diaper on a little tray. And they told me that I had to kill this baby or else they would kill me. I refused to kill this baby. They put a knife in my hand and threatened to kill me if I didn't murder this baby. And I refused, and I really thought that that was the moment that they were going to kill me at that point. But they didn't. That's when the police officer killed the baby chained to the wall, and then I was chained to the floor next to the dead child. It's just really painful to talk about this, but it needs to be said, and I need to bring it to light, because I cannot stand with my perpetrators. I can't stand with the people who are my handlers. And guess what? They're my mother, they're my father, they're my roommate. They are the people who I've dated in my past. It's real. I don't even know who my handlers are now. And I'm trying to distance myself from that. However, it's very difficult. Another thing too, when I was returned back to the house that I was abducted from, there were police officers there. There was probably about 7 of them with the relatives who witnessed my abduction in the room, in the living room, the front room. Two cops took me to my bedroom, plopped me down in my bed, stood at the entrance door to my room, and they told me, if you ever think about talking about this, we will kill you and we will kill your whole family. I'm not kidding. I'm not lying. The police are so corrupt and sick. It's just disgusting. Anyways, after my abduction and return, in the following years, I would eavesdrop on my mother and the other relatives there that witnessed my abduction, basically. When I was 6 years old, 6 or 7, is when I got a hold of the MK Ultra paperwork for this other relative's child. And the paperwork was more along the lines of guidelines and telling this relative how to raise their child, what we need to do. And it was a lot of make sure that you only play Disney movies for them. Make sure that there's a lot of McDonald's and fast food in their diet. It seems unbelievable, all of these things that happened, but that's how they cover it up. They make it so bizarre that no one's going to believe it. But it's true. And other survivors are going through the same pain that I'm going through, where it's just so much that they know, the perpetrators know, that other people are going to have a hard time believing what I'm talking about, because it's weird. Yeah, it's out there. And the mainstream media sources, Hollywood, producers, actresses, guess what? They are being controlled. They have a narrative. They're under mind control. I mean, look, it's just really painful to talk about. And yeah, I'm so tired. Anyways, yeah. Another thing too, a relative met with me last year in November and laid out for me why my mother was gone when I was abducted. She was on a business trip. She wasn't there. She confirmed this to me. Yeah, so I was abducted in June of 1994, the last week of school. I remember returning to school the next day, and these two relatives who witnessed my abduction and who were threatened by the police, they dressed me in a long-sleeved dress in June with tights and shoes, completely out of season. And when I arrived to school, I remember other children coming up to me and hugging me and telling me, "Karly, are you okay? You were on the news last night. Are you all right?" There was a news report that I was missing in 1994 in June. So it had to have been maybe like the first or second week of June. But anyways, that's the time frame that I had verified. Another thing too, it makes me sick, the people who just say that I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not a danger to myself. I'm not a danger to others. I am a very critically thinking, highly functioning individual. Yes, I've been through a lot of school and college, and I don't have any sort of end paperwork or degree to show for it. However, I'm fully capable of critical thinking and learning and just being a normal member of society. Yeah. I mean, I'm working poor. I don't have a lot of money at all. And I don't want a lot of money. I don't want any money. I'm not asking anyone for money or anything like that. And I reiterate that in all of my videos. Anyways, this has been part 2 of my testimony video. If you haven't seen the first one, please go watch that. I'll put the link below. I also want to give a shout out to Brian too, who is an ex-Department of Defense contractor who reached out to me in the comment section of my videos. His videos are an excellent resource for other extrajudicial targets who are dealing with the same type of street theater and gang stalking. I also want to talk about how I don't have like a safe space because there is a chip in my arm. It's deep in there, but it's there. And I know that this is how they monitor where I am. I mean, of course, they've tapped my phone. They know everything that goes on in my emails. They're on it. They know everything about me. I'm pretty damn sure, and that's fine. It's funny because somebody talked to me today and said that they wanted me to take a lie detector test. And here's the thing with lie detector tests. In my statistics class, we used lie detector tests, the efficacy of them and how they're not 100% perfect in our statistics examples. So I thought that was very interesting how this relative who is absolutely MK Ultra, definitely one of my handlers, suggested that we go to the police and take a lie detector test. I don't need a lie detector test. I don't need to go to the perpetrators and ask them to rat themselves out, because that's not my end game. My end game is to spread awareness and get people motivated and courageous enough to come out and speak out on what they have been through. And thank you so much to the other survivors who have come out of the woodwork, who I've given strength to people have let me know in the comment section that I've given them hope. I've given them courage to finally speak out. And I mean, I spoke out basically as soon as my memories came back to me. If my memories came back to me in 2010, I would have come out then. If my memories came back to me in 2018, guess what? That's when I came out. If I had access to like the internet, well, first of all, in 1994, the internet wasn't a thing. We didn't have computers in our house. We didn't have cell phones yet in 1994. So, I mean, I don't know. I am very concerned that somebody is going to try to institutionalize me against my will, despite being in a fine mental state, and I'm not a danger to myself. I'm not a danger to others. So just know that if that ever does happen, I do not consent. I do not consent. Someone asked me, what's my end game? I don't know. I don't know what the end game is. But honestly, I really don't care as long as I'm spreading awareness and doing what is right, not what's easy. So thank you for watching. Thank you for spreading awareness. Thank you for sharing my videos. And thank you for listening to the survivors, because we are not crazy, okay? This shit really happens. And I'm not going to stand silently. I'm going to be vocal about it. And I mean, they're gonna have to try really hard to silence me, if you know what I mean. Anyways, thank you again, Brian, too, for the work you're doing in giving lots of advice to people who have been affected by this, people who are targeted individuals, and I just hope that God puts a really, really thick divine shield around all of the survivors and all of the witnesses, all of the targeted individuals, because this world, there is no real judgment. I mean, there is no real justice in this world. There will be judgment. There will be. It might not be in this lifetime. I hope it is. I hope it does happen. But anyways, the best way to defeat this is to find happiness every day. You have to look for the little joys in life. Look for little signs, like even if it's just like a nice butterfly flying over an overpass, or somebody with a sign in their front yard that says "Don't give up." Just appreciate those little moments and don't take everything that's good in your life for granted. Anyways, I'm gonna end this video with that. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, be safe and keep your loved ones safe.